What's up, everybody? What's up? What's up? Please take a second to like and share this stream. We going live. The verdict is in. Community reaction. I want to know what you think in real time. We'll watch it together as it comes in. I'll try my best to find a video stream so you can literally watch it and listen to it together, and we can react in real time. Hey, do me a favor. Hey, Naisha. Hey, Pat, do me a favor, please, and share this on your page and wherever you think that people on Facebook might be into something like this. I want to talk about it right here, right now. That's the flexibility and the advantage that we have as being digitally based media. We go live whenever we need to go live for the community and to talk about these issues in real time. I don't want to wait till tomorrow. Tomorrow is too late. I want to talk about it right here, right now. Hey, what's up, Graxton? What's up, everybody? Please take a second to like and in particular share this stream. The verdict is in. For what I'm reading, 10 hours of deliberation. I am no lawyer. There are far smarter people than me in terms of the legal aspect, but from what I'm getting, the sum total of the commentary is that a lot of prosecutors are saying that when the verdict comes in quickly, that it benefits the prosecution. So a lot of the so-called legal minds that are watching this on television are saying that it looks like this is a good thing for the prosecution, which I think would be good for America. And we'll talk about what that means afterwards. So let me do my best to try to find a feed that we can actually all be a part of, and without having any copyright issues, because that is a real thing. I'm going to try my best to try to find that online for us so that we can watch from inside, from wherever you are in the world, we can watch the deliberation and the verdict happen in real time. Okay, that is very, very important that we get that. And I think I found the feed that I was looking for. Yeah, I think I have. So looks like we've got a good, strong, stable feed that we can actually use, and we can actually watch this together. Hold on one second, family. Let me pull everything together in real time. I had a bunch of things going on, some of which I told you earlier, but this is what I do. So that takes precedence. Got to be here for what's happening in real time right here, right now. So I think this is a big story that everybody's watching, and I'm watching it. We're watching it together. So there it is. We got a nice good stream right there. There it is. Yeah, there we go. We got a nice good stream for my friends over at C-SPAN. Thank you to my friends at C-SPAN. Do great work. So when the verdict comes in, we will watch it. We will listen to it. We will view it. We will experience it together the way we should do it. And I want to get the community reactions first right here on the show. I could have just as easily waited till yesterday, but no, actually, quite honestly, I could not. We have to go live. We have to talk about these issues. This is the biggest civil rights, police brutality type of case in a long time, and we must discuss it in real time. How do you feel? How is everybody? How do you feel at this moment? Are you nervous? What do you think about? I think this is a relatively quick turnaround. Again, for my legal folks out there that have far more experience than I would in being able to give some real life experience about that. But 10 hours, that seems awfully quick, right? And it's funny. I was in the car with my daughter earlier, and she was like, "Why should it take so long? This is open and shut." She's been watching it and monitoring it, and her friends have been talking about it in school. So again, everybody is watching this. People have said things like America is on trial, and I can understand that. There is a lot at stake. There is a lot at stake. The world is watching. The world is watching, and I'll be honest with you. I kind of feel like if we, and I say that loosely, but if they, the prosecutors, can't get a conviction in a case like this, when they had witness after witness after witness, but the police chief and others who came out and said that that was not police procedure, then there needs to be a serious conversation. But many of you may have heard the show earlier today. In my opinion, there should be a serious conversation no matter what. No matter what happens, we need to have some serious conversations in this country about policing in America and reforms that are desperately needed. Even if Derek Chauvin is found guilty, we need to have these conversations. And I think that, we've been having a lot of conversations about what is justice. And I told you straight up what I felt justice was in this morning. I told you, straight up how I felt about it. And I don't need to go into it at this point. I'm sure we'll have plenty of time this evening to get into it. But if he is found guilty, that does not mean that America doesn't have a long way to go. Okay, let's stop right there. If it goes that way, it does not mean that America is now post-racial. It does not mean that now in America we have solved all of the issues surrounding police brutality. I think in this particular case, it was unusually brutal and unusually graphic and unusually public because of technology. Imagine the same scenario had happened 30 years ago. In fact, strike that. Let's be real here, family. We know this happened before the advent of mobile technology, where people had essentially cameras in their pockets wherever they go. And I can only wonder that no matter what happens, I can only wonder how many men and women have lost their lives and or been brutalized by the hands of police officers where there was no evidence, there was no video, there was no cameras, there was no eyewitnesses, just the word of someone who was given the ultimate trust by our government over someone who is a citizen. How many times? How many times? You tell me. If you want to call into the show this afternoon, as always, we got the phone lines up and ready and available for you at 513-873-7134. I'll monitor that sort of backstage, and when something starts to happen, then we'll jump right back over. Okay, but for now, I think we're Gucci, and we're going to monitor things. I've got a C-SPAN feed that is up right now, and perhaps, not perhaps, but when the verdict comes in and we start to get to what happens inside the courtroom, we'll go straight to it, and we'll give that the floor. Then we'll come back and analyze. And again, I want to get your reaction. So again, how do you feel right now? Are you nervous? If you are nervous, what's making you nervous? Are you nervous because you feel as if Derek Chauvin might get off? Are you nervous because you think he might be found guilty? What are you feeling right now? That's what I like to know. What are you feeling? So I'm going to go straight to our comments. And this is just streaming live on Facebook and live on YouTube. I am not streaming to any audio platforms, which, as I think about it, quite honestly, I might actually go ahead and put that up because many, many, many people enjoy our audio streams. But I want to get your thoughts. What is your initial reaction? What do you think? Hey, what's up, Naisha? Good to see you. She writes, I'm a nervous wreck. Pat writes, here we go. T. Greg writes, good afternoon, hashtag alt something, alt middle. Hey, all, good to see you. Elizabeth writes, sadly, I am afraid to think. Are you, Elizabeth? Good to see you. Tanya writes, my nerves are a mess. HLN has a live stream. Girlfriend just spoke. Is that right? Ramona writes, may God bless this family and Black America. I'm with you on that all day. Hold on, let me jump around. You said HLN's got a nice stream here. I mean, some of these streams are more copyright friendly than others. So, and again, I see that, I see it. They've got commentary running right now. And that's interesting. I mean, you can watch the commentary and kind of chime into it. I'm not gonna tap into that. I'm more concerned about getting that video feed from the courtroom itself so we can all see and hear, what's happening in real time. Daryl writes, nothing to be scared about. To Naisha, Graxton writes, good afternoon, alt middle. I'll see him in alt middle. What's up, Jay Coop? Jay Coop writes, I'm bracing myself for this. Okay, I understand. Again, T. Greg writes, it's a guilty on something. Again, that's what the legal minds are saying. They're saying, wow, for number one, they're saying that the verdict, the jury has decided unanimously, and many of them are taking that as a sign that means that it should be a clean sweep, a unanimous, all guilty on all charges, which I think that's what a lot of people that I know are looking for. We'll see. Dale writes, a guilty verdict is not a celebration. Um, I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. But I would far rather take a guilty verdict than having to deal with the emotions and the fallout of him not being found guilty. I would take that any day, primarily for the family. I mean, I'm not related to George Floyd directly, although with this melanated skin, we all connected. We already know that. But for the family involved, they're looking for what, polite society calls justice. I already told you what I think justice is in this case. I'm not budging for that. If the family caught up with Derek Chauvin and handled that work, I don't have no tears for him. But in a polite society, a civilized society, that's not the way they tell us to do things. So this is what it is. And we'll have to see what happens. I'll say it again, family, no matter what the verdict is, the system and systems across the country need to be reformed, period. We got a lot of work to do still from a federal and state and local level, no matter what happens with Derek Chauvin. And if Derek Chauvin is found guilty on all three charges, there will be people in the media that will throw their hands up and say, I told you we were post-racial. I told you the system works. I told you. They got their narratives already crafted. If he goes to jail, oh, well, America's off the hook. See, we told you the system had checks and balances. If he doesn't go to jail, well, he was found not guilty, so he didn't do anything wrong. I think some of the testimony from the defense was absolutely amazing to me in terms of their arguments. I mean, arguing that is proper and reasonable police use of force to me, I think was really interesting. But again, that's what the defense does for you. Hey, listen, to all the folks watching right now, do me a favor and share this stream. Share this stream on your page or wherever you think on Facebook people might find it interesting. And I've shared it. I'm going to continue to share it as well. And we're waiting for the verdict to come in, and then we'll discuss. Lisa writes, tired of being nervous. I know that's right. Tired of being tired of being nervous. I'm with you 100%. She writes, hard not to celebrate justice. I agree with that. Dale writes, people watching this like the OJ trial. Yeah, maybe so. Maybe so. It's got a lot of interest. I mean, just think about what happened last year when you had social protests, you had uprisings in major cities across the nation, sparked by that video of Derek Chauvin with his knee on the neck of George Floyd. Matter of fact, I've got that video for you. Some people say they don't like these kind of videos, and I understand it. For me, as a member of the media, I feel like there's an educational element to it that is far more important than anything else. That's just how I look at it. I may play some of that as we get ready, just to remind you of how we got started. Ashley writes, I'm a nervous wreck. I think the wifey is nervous as hell. She said, my nerves, I get it. You know why? Because people care. People care. You got women out there that are married to black men and they're afraid. They have children, sons. They're afraid it could be them. You know what I'm saying? I'm nervous. I understand. Brittany's in the house. How you do to see you, Brittany? She writes, I'm just standing in the need of justice. Even if he's guilty, is so much principle behind this entire ordeal. I agree. TNT writes, it's a good sign when the deliberations is quick. More likely means they have a conviction. It's just which one or is it all counts. Deborah writes, I'm a bit nervous, but hopefully that justice will prevail. I'm with you on that. Graxton writes, if he's not guilty, it's a tragedy. Remember, everyone thought Casey Anthony was guilty. Hey, Ramona. Ramona writes, I'm believing we will get a guilty verdict. We must, she writes. Dale writes, justice is riding the system of qualified immunity and at least drug testing police. I'm with you on that, on both of those. It is harder to hide. If they could have covered it up, they would have. I mean, just again, think about the times we live in. If this happened before the advent of mobile technology, this would be open and shut. Just think about that. If the exact same circumstances, and I would say that while I don't have any individual cases in mind, I find it hard to believe that in a country with the structure that we have, that what we all witnessed via this right, that goes the power of this right here. It goes to show you how powerful this is. This is a very powerful multimedia device when used correctly. If not for these, we would never have known what happened. And the system would have believed Derek Chauvin, and that will be it. And that will be it, ladies and gentlemen. We would know nothing about it. Hey, Jocelyn, she writes, it did happen 37 years ago on camera with Rodney King. She's right. She's right. I got to go back and further. 40 years ago, 50 years ago, before they had mobile technology and video cameras. Just think about that. How many other George Floyd situations have been out there in which it never went to trial? Because that's how the game goes. Lisa writes, unusual public, not unusual violence because we have been tortured. Lee writes, he's going to jail. Question is, how long? It appears that way. TNT writes, the jury is 12 jurors, 2 alternatives. They are made up of 9 women, 5 men, 8 are white, 4 black, 2 biracial. Dale writes, I'm participating here, watching MSNBC and listening to Karen Hunter. Oh, okay. I'm sure everybody's on right now. We must convict on all counts, says Ramona. I'm with you. I'm nervous. He won't be found guilty, or it won't get a strong enough sentence. Is he going to be sentenced today, or will he be sentenced in the near future? I don't know. Michael writes, what's up, Nate? What's up with you, Michael? Jenny writes, yes, I'm nervous because he might get off. It looks that way. Again, if you jump around and look at some of what people are saying in terms of like the legal analyst, what they're saying is that this is a good indication. And by this, I mean the quick turnaround, 10-hour deliberation, that's a good indication that Derek Chauvin will be found guilty on all counts. Cool. I'll be surprised if he's convicted on all counts. Okay. See, a lot of people are commenting on my post on Facebook. Here, let me jump around here and see what's going on. Guilty. Brad writes, hope innocent. He should get some sort of trouble, but he didn't kill that criminal. That's what Brad Johnson wrote on Facebook. Is that right, Brad? Brad sounds like a damn fool. Brad sounds like a damn fool. And I say that because of either one or two ways, Brad Johnson. I think that's on the Greater Cincinnati Politics page. Shout out to the folks watching on that page on Facebook. But hey, Brad, don't take it personally, man. I mean that literally. Like, literally, either you're trying to poke the bear, which is foolish, which is childish, and therefore it makes you a damn fool, or you just haven't been watching the trial and you just want to give an opinion about it, which, a wise man speaks when he feels like he needs to, a fool when he feels like he has to. So I would rethink that. I would rethink things before you post, Brad. Rudy writes, how can violent communities be policed if officers are prosecuted for using techniques that ensure officer safety? I think we got us another damn fool. That's Rudy Nielsen. Edward writes, guilty. I wish they could hang his ass. Now, I'm not for the death penalty. But it is what it is. Turan writes, Brad, just say I'm racist and go back to bed. I'm gonna go ahead and like that one. Yeah, you got some people that love to poke the bear, and they think it's funny at a time like this to say the most ridiculous things. I get it. It comes with the territory. It's called the internet. I understand 100%. I get it, but I'm gonna keep it real with you. You sound foolish. Stacy writes, I like to hope he's found guilty, but we have seen how these situations worked out in the past. We have. But that was then, and this is now. I'm not telling you I watched the trial wall to wall because I did not. But I kept up with it daily via updates and clips and things like that. Okay. So I got a general sense of all of the highlights and the lowlights of the trial. And I don't think that anybody who watched that trial and has any damn objective common sense can arrive at any other decision than Derek Chauvin should go to jail for as long and as legally possible, as long as it's legally possible. He should never be a police officer. You can argue that he should never have been a police officer. And just short of the death penalty, he should spend the rest of his life in jail. I think anybody with any objective common sense view of it, that's how they're going to see it. I'm just being real with you. All nervous that Chauvin gets the lesser charge. Is that right? Daryl writes, quick verdict is some guilty if you ever served. Anthony writes, still think the prosecution should have asked for a volunteer to see if any juror was willing to let him sit on their neck for 9 minutes with them not having any medical issues. Yeah, I mean, it's just amazing how some people believe, and this is very, very dangerous, but some people believe that if you are suspected of a crime, no matter how minor the crime is, then law enforcement can do whatever they want to do to you. And what was George Floyd's alleged crime? Because remember, George Floyd was never convicted of a crime. He was accused of a crime. Anybody can accuse you of a crime. Anyone can accuse you of a crime. Anybody. Anybody listening right now or watching this right now can be accused of a crime just like that. So because you're accused of a crime, then you deserve to be murdered in custody? Like Derek Chauvin never made it to processing. I'm sorry, George Floyd never made it to processing. He never went before a judge. I know what they alleged that he did, but literally, I could walk up to somebody today and say, you committed a crime. What does that mean? And what was his crime, allegedly? That he was passing off a fake $20 bill. So that's the measure of a black man's life in 2021, $20. That's all his life was worth. $20. And that's why I say you got some damn fools out there talking about police officers need the tools they need to keep the streets safe. Safe from what? Passing a counterfeit $20 bill? And if you watch the trial, then you know, like I know, that the store clerk who first noticed it, he testified in court that he didn't believe that George Floyd really knew that it was a counterfeit bill. That's the reason why he let him get it off. It was the manager who forced him to call the police. So think about this. Think about this. The store clerk didn't even believe. He testified in court that he did not believe that George Floyd even knew that it was a counterfeit bill. Apparently, there was another guy who was in there with George Floyd. He said he thought the other guy knew about it just by the way he was acting. I don't know. Maybe George Floyd was a good actor. I don't know. But I'm just telling you what was the testimony inside of the trial. That's it. And that's the measure of a man's life. $20. That's sad. That's very, very sad. We're talking about $20 now. George Floyd wasn't, he didn't, go into a church and murder 9 people. He didn't go into a church and murder 9 people. He wasn't accused of abusing children. He wasn't accused of sex trafficking. He wasn't accused of being a serial killer. He was accused of allegedly, by the way, because again, he never went before the judge. We don't know whether he did what was accused of him or not. That's the way the system works. Just like Derek Chauvin was innocent until proven guilty, so was George Floyd. But when you're black, as soon as somebody points a finger at you, you automatically wrong. And no matter what happens to you in that process, you deserve it. You got folks out there, white collar criminals, man, that are robbing people's retirements. People work their whole lives to build a little retirement nest egg, and somebody swindles them out of it, and they don't get treated like that. Bernie Madoff robbed hundreds of people of their retirement. He didn't get treated like that. Derek Chauvin felt good enough to do what he felt comfortable in doing what he was doing, I think, in part because it was a black man. Knowing that you would have idiots like these folks over here in this Greater Cincinnati Politics page run around here trying to play games. These are, grown-up children. I hope you guys don't have children. Like any of these fools on that page talking that nonsense, I hope you don't have children. If you do, damn, what woman would procreate with you? I don't get it. But we all got different standards. I know. Anthony writes, still think the prosecutor, I think I read that already. Cass is in the house. She writes, I want to be optimistic, but I also don't want to get my hopes up. Well, I feel the same way as I did this morning. I have no confidence in the American criminal justice system. We'll see. And even if this man is found guilty, I still won't have a lot of confidence in the American criminal justice system. See, that's what we have to understand. It's bigger than just one case. Is this case important? Well, absolutely. That's why we're all here. Hold on, we're getting some audio coming in. All right, looks like the verdict is coming in. I'm going to step to the back and let this play.
All rise for the jury. All right, please be seated. Members of the jury, I understand you have a verdict. Members of the jury, I will now read the verdicts as they will appear in the permanent records of the 4th Judicial District. State of Minnesota, County of Hennepin, District Court, 4th Judicial District. State of Minnesota Plaintiff versus Derek Michael Chauvin, Defendant. Verdict, Count 1. Court File Number 27, CR 20-12646. We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to Count 1, unintentional second-degree murder while committing a felony, find the defendant guilty. This verdict agreed to this 20th day of April 2021 at 1:44 p.m. Signed, Juror Foreperson, Juror Number 19. Same caption, verdict Count 2. We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to Count 2, third-degree murder, perpetrating an eminently dangerous act, find the defendant guilty. This verdict agreed to this 20th day of April 2021 at 1:45 p.m. Signed by Jury Foreperson, Juror Number 19. Same caption, verdict Count 3. We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to Count 3, second-degree manslaughter, culpable negligence, creating an unreasonable risk, find the defendant guilty. This verdict agreed to this 20th day of April 2021 at 1:45 p.m. Jury Foreperson 019. Members of the jury, I'm now going to ask you individually if these are your true and correct verdicts. Please respond yes or no. Juror Number 2, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror Number 9, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror Number 19, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror Number 27, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror Number 44, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror Number 52, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror Number 55, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror Number 79, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror Number 85, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror Number 89, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror Number 91, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror Number 92, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Are these your verdicts? So say you one, so say you all.
Yes.
Members of the jury, I find that the verdicts as read reflect the will of the jury and will be filed accordingly. I have to thank you on behalf of the people of the state of Minnesota for not only jury service, but heavy-duty jury service. What I'm going to ask you to do now is to follow the deputy back into your usual room, and I will join you in a few minutes to answer questions and to advise you further. So, all rise for the jury. All right, be seated. With the guilty verdicts returned, we're going to have Blakely, you may file a written argument as to Blakely factors within 1 week. The court will issue findings on the Blakely factors, the factual findings, 1 week after that. We'll order a PSI immediately returnable in 4 weeks. And we will also have a briefing on, after you get the PSI, 6 weeks from now, and then 8 weeks from now, we will have sentencing. We'll get you the exact dates in a scheduling order. Is there a motion on behalf of the state?
Your Honor, the state would move to have the court revoke the defendant's bail and remand him into custody pending sentencing.
Bail is revoked, bond is discharged, and the defendant is remanded to the custody of the Hennepin County Sheriff. Anything further?
All
right.
Thank you. We're adjourned.
So, counsel, dates, I can send you an email.
So there it is, family. We got the if you just tuning in and guilty on all counts. Is that what you expected? It seems to match what the legal pundits were saying in terms of their observation of the quickness of the deliberations from the jury in delivering their verdict. I want to get your reaction. Are you surprised by this? Are you shocked by this? And what does that mean moving forward? Well, I mean, as I said earlier this morning and before we got the verdict, I still stand the same. I think there's still a whole lot of work to do. What we got to do is fight back on this narrative now, because people are going to say, well, this is an example that the judicial system is not broken. When bad cops do bad things, they're held accountable, right? You already know what some elements of the media are going to be saying. To them, they're going to use this as an example of how there is no problem with holding bad cops responsible. That's what they're going to say. No, what problem? He committed a crime. We all saw it. He got 3 counts, and now he's going to be sentenced. Does anybody have any insights on the sentencing? Like, when exactly is the sentence going to take place? What do you make of Derek Chauvin and his nonverbals? I love poker. When I retire into my 70s, 80s, and 90s, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to play poker, and I'm going to start a church. That's it. I love poker. In poker, you have to read your opponent. And you could tell he was quite nervous. I mean, his eyes were jumping all over the place as he was looking at all of the jurors as they announced their decision. And I don't know what you make out of that. I'm sure that his legal team prepared him for this. I'm sure they told him, like, man, that's a quick turnaround, bruh. That might be your ass. That might be your ass. And what I'll say is, and we got a call on the line. You can call into the show. I want to get your reaction. What do you think? What is the community reaction in real time? I have a feeling. My feeling is that we don't see that enough. We need for us to get to where we need to get to in this country. We need to see more of that. Officers being led away in handcuffs, being held responsible for their actions. We need to see more of that. But let's go to the phones. Good evening, really. Good evening. Welcome to the show.
Hey, good evening, comrade.
Good evening, brother. Welcome to the show, man. Black Russia.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Hey, we saw some justice today. What the hell? It's like you would think it'd be a scenario where we would be shocked, but it's like more people are more relieved than shocked, or like, one way. I think people are relieved because the defense tried to tell us what we saw on tape we didn't see, and it almost worked. You know what I'm saying? I think it almost worked. But with the jury coming back after 10 hours, man, I seen that. Somebody texted me, like, oh, it got a verdict. I'm like, oh, that mother guilty. It's over. I mean, it's one of the scenarios where I was more, going into it, I was more or less looking to see, okay, when they say he's guilty, I'm like, what he guilty of? Because I was feeling like they're gonna give him the lower level stuff, because you know how people do stuff. And don't trip. The judge might still save him too, because now it's up to the judge. Jury say he's guilty. Now, judge, what you gonna do? You gonna ring him up? You gonna give him that 20, 25, 30 piece, or you gonna let him go and give him the low end of the set? See, this is the type of stuff. This is high level chess now. The jury did their job. Now we're the judge. That's the next question. Will the judge do his job? You know what I'm saying? The judge, he's an elected official. So these folks in Minnesota, if you really care about this case, you better watch what the judge doing, and y'all got to decide his fate. Other than that, this is all a while. You get all this, you feel good, 3 for 3, they rank him all the way up on all these charges, and he messed around to get 5 years. You know what I'm saying? And 10 years probation. Some ish like that. Would it have been worth it? So we'll see. I'm glad some justice got served, and that's on that end, but it's still up to the judge. And we know these judges, man. The judges will serve you up or they'll cut you up right.
Good flows,
we'll
man.
see. I'm relieved. I appreciate it. I'm relieved more or less than anything, because I was just like, man, if they came back after 10 hours and said not guilty on any of this, I'd feel like, hey, what we got to do to win a case as the prosecution when you got to tape like that with a dude knee on his neck? Look, the whole country would have set on fire if this dude would have been found guilty of anything. So, it's a great day in Black America, because you finally got some officers on tape that this issue on tape got rung up, other than Walter Scott, where that was like a slam dunk. This one was kind of like a layup, but, you still had to hold your breath. People was like in the comments, like, oh, I'm holding my breath. And see, and that's the worst thing about the whole scenario. We got to hold our breath on something that was so obvious. But we'll see. I mean, you said something interesting, too, about we got to see more officers getting laid out and cussed out the courtroom. How about these officers just stay out the damn courtroom and just do their job? And we ain't got to see this ever again. If everybody got the message today, then everybody should be okay. But that's wishful thinking, probably.
I think it is wishful thinking.
Yeah, we're going to see this again, unfortunately. But, at least on 420, this beautiful 420, the officer went down.
All right, Black Russian, thanks for the flows. Appreciate it.
All right, take it easy.
Most
Guilty, like a motherfucker.
Again, what's your reaction? What are your thoughts? Again, I want to know what the community thinks. 513-873-7134. What do you think? That's what I want to know. What do you think? Are you relieved? As he was being led away in handcuffs, I had a profound and overwhelming feeling that we need to see that enough. Or we need to see more of that. We don't see enough of those images. And that is officers being led away in handcuffs, being found guilty for their actions. He said, hopefully people got the message. I don't think people have got the message. I don't think that law enforcement is like on pins and needles now. I don't believe that one bit. It would take a whole lot more of those kind of scenes to wake up law enforcement, in my opinion. Now, you might be a member of law enforcement. The door is open, 513-873-7134. I just want your honest opinions. You do not have to agree with the host. You might have a completely different opinion. That's valid as well. We can always agree to disagree. Good afternoon. Well, good evening. Hey, good evening. Welcome.
Hello?
Hey, TNT?
Hey, what's going on, Nathan?
I'm doing
Can
well.
you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, good. And I'm driving, and I had to call in. I just want to say very clearly, that was not a police officer. That was a bum that just got ushered away. And so I'm so happy. My heart is so filled right now. It's like it's almost like I can't even breathe. I felt good when I heard that the verdict, that the jury had reached the verdict. That kind of was like, positive direction, and understanding that the jury had to either find Chauvin unanimously guilty or unanimously not guilty, or the in between was a hung jury. So since we did not have a hung jury, it was clearly we had a conviction. I just found it too hard to believe that they would have unanimously given that makeup of jurors for them to come with a unanimous not guilty. You know what I mean? But we see what it is, and it's great. What I also want to say is that the laws in Minnesota, they did something with their codified laws there, and I'm not in front of a computer to kind of get specifics, but they changed it so that it did not require intent, and that's something that catches that hangs up, I guess, jurors a lot. Is that, well, what did he really intend to kill him? You know, or is it like then you have to get into the mindset of the officer? This was mainly, did he act recklessly in such a way that he knew he was going to cause harm, or he just acted recklessly and it caused harm? It was just like the requirements for their second degree murder and their manslaughter was not so confined with that one word, intent. And so something that we probably need to look into our codified laws here to make sure we got something like that. And if we don't, maybe we need to, maybe every state need to, because that made it kind of crystal clear. Then just the very situation in itself. I think the greatest witness, everybody that testified did an excellent job, and it really, gave kind of the feeling we all felt visually watching the 9 minutes and 29 seconds, but to actually be there and feel helpless, but knowing you're compelled by your own humanity to say something, to want to do something, but you are paralyzed by fear, but you see wrong. And it's terrible that, you have lawmakers trying to create laws to prevent this very thing that had the people there had not had the courage to record. I don't know if we would have even gotten this far. Just like you were saying earlier, think of all the cases, hundreds, thousands of people who are brutalized by police, wrongfully killed by police. There is no video in sight. All they have is the word of a bum police officer. And they get off to go on and hurt somebody or kill someone again. I think of John Crawford the third, and how that officer had killed someone else before he reached him. He had pulled over Dave Chappelle 1 week before he killed John Crawford. And so, and it's just unfortunate, but technology and people, so my point was, the biggest witness was those video recordings. And I think in the end, even though with all that great expert testimony and you had the pathologist, which he was amazing. I did watch the trial all throughout. But I think the best witness was the video recordings. You just couldn't deny it. And just as the prosecution, which they were incredible, Joe Dieters could learn something from them, not playing with anybody. And then even the chief of Minnesota, the way he got on the stand, no one took up for a bad police officer. And that's what has to stop too, this safe haven. Now it was one or two officers that try to come on the stand and try to say, that whole thing with an officer has to do this in a millisecond, and they have to use force and all this other stuff. But it's just like when you got down to the crux of it, and even to the part where, he had no pulse, you knew he had no pulse, and you still remained on his neck for an additional 3.5 minutes, all the way into the EMT people got there. They had to tap him on the shoulder, like, get up off him. I don't know how you explain that. So real police officers saw this and you have to abandon that. You can't keep protecting it. I wouldn't even consider that in the same fold of real officers. I know real officers who do put their life on the line, who do care about their community and do the right thing. You know what I mean? They be in very tough situations and don't even draw the gun. You know what I'm saying? And you have other officers that, just like the other one, I think his name was Officer King, just to come up on George Floyd in the first 10 seconds and draw a gun over a $20 bill. Is that how you interact and engage? You came in escalating. You escalated the situation from the jump. Why would he not be afraid? Why would he not be in fear? That's how they doing us. They come to our windows with guns drawn. Any slightest move and you're gone. And that's okay. That's supposed to be okay. I think what this does, like you said, there's so much work to be done. The George Floyd Justice and Policing Act needs to be enforced immediately with the qualified immunity. I know that's the debatable part, but that has to be in there, along with some other things. And then, we just don't stop there, because we have to have safe communities. Communities have to have trust, and we pay them with our tax dollars. We pay significant amount of money with our tax dollars for their training. There's no reason for them to be so quick to draw the gun on citizens like that. And the more legislators do to make our rights and our freedoms, absent, and empower them more and take it away from us, you're making us less safe. So we have to stop politicians who try to do that, where they're so pro-police, they're taking away their own freedoms from themselves and from the people. We can't allow it. So I ain't gonna keep going on and preach it. But today is a good day, and we just got to keep fighting. It ain't over. We just got to keep pushing our foot on the pedal. Thank God for the young people, the allies, everybody that came together all in 2020, and even now, they put their voices out there. They wasn't going to accept anything less. And we got to just keep doing more of that. Hopefully, some accountability will start showing. We'll start raining down, along with legislation to back it up, to make officers know that you don't get free range to kill and to be judge, jury, and execution. Your job is to bring people to justice so they can have their day in court. George Floyd should be alive. He deserved due process. He deserved to stay in court. He does not deserve to be dead. And I can only imagine the family. I know that they're happy and everything else, but at the same time, there is no justice when your loved one is gone. There's no justice for George Floyd when he's gone. I can imagine if in the afterlife, if all your spirit can do is just oversee everything, happy for justice, but like, damn, I had things to do. I had people to see. I had a life to live, and you took it. And that's not fair. So, with that, let me go ahead for the second time. Y'all have a great day. It's a good day.
Appreciate the passion. That's TNT. You know that sister care about the community. You already know. So if you don't know, the verdict is in, guilty on all 3 counts. Derek Chauvin was led away as the criminal that he is for his criminal actions. And I was very happy to see that, all things considered. All things considered. But what's your opinion? Again, just getting a reaction from the community right here in real time. 513-873-7134. What are your thoughts? What do you think? What do you feel? What are you feeling right now? Does this verdict give you hope? Do you feel hopeful? Does this verdict make you feel, does it make you feel even angrier? Because you're like, why don't we see more of this? Again, your phone calls, your comments, that's what I'm here for. Let's go straight to the phones. Good evening. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Nate, this is Donita. How are you?
Hey, Donita, welcome. Doing well. Hope you're doing well.
I'm doing well. For me, this is just a matter of kind of reflection. Like, we all literally saw George Floyd murdered on video, and we still had to be cautious not to get our hopes up that he would be held accountable. And that's sad when you think about it, because there was no doubt what happened. It was caught on video from multiple different angles, multiple different perspectives, and we still had to say, but he just might get off. So what does that say about us as a country? You know what I'm saying? Like, that you still have to wonder, even though we know what we saw, that this man might get off. That's just mind-boggling to me.
You're right. That's a great way of putting it. The fact that there was any doubt whatsoever is the problem in and of itself.
And the thing is, we all know that had there not been those videos, we would not be here where we were today. You know, because honestly, without those videos, I don't think anybody would have really thought that somebody would kneel on someone's neck for 9 minutes and 29 seconds in front of people. Like, you know what I mean? Like without those videos, we wouldn't be here, because nobody would have really believed that really happened. I don't care how many witnesses said it did. Without that video, it never would have happened. And then the second part to that is, honestly, without all of the protests nationwide and the protests internationally, we would not be here. It's almost like when you think about, even back in the 60s, everybody knew what was going on down south. But until white people were killed down south, and until it went international and other countries started saying, is this what America is about? That's when results started happening. When it was just us being killed, nobody cared. So if this hadn't gone international, I still don't think we would be here. I just think the thing about America is America has to be guilted and embarrassed in order to do what's right. And that's the major problem. If America isn't guilted and embarrassed, it's business as usual. And that's the problem.
Great flow, sis. I appreciate the call.
That's all I do. All right.
Yeah, I can't say she wrong. I can't say I disagree with her on anything she said. And then she did say something that is worthy of going over again. I mean, just think about the overall arrogance, the privilege. Just think about the fact that what she said, that Derek Chauvin did this in front of people. Like, what would make this man think that he can do that in America and get away with it? It was that badge. It was his skin color. And it was the skin color of the man's whose neck he was kneeling on. And that's some commentary for your ass right there. Just think about that. She makes an excellent point. Like, the nerve. He thought he could do that. It just happened last year. We're not talking about the 60s or the 50s. This happened in the new millennium. Just last year. And he felt so privileged, so protected, so untouchable that he could do this in front of everybody, and whatever happened. Hey, listen, I'm an officer. We need to rethink the rules of engagement for police officers across the country. We need to reimagine it. It needs to be reimagined, because whenever you build a system, humans, even you could build a system with the most virtuous goals in mind. When humans are involved, some humans are going to try to corrupt it, to change it, to use it for their own benefit. And that's what we saw. But let's go back to the phones. Good evening. Welcome to the show.
Hey, good evening, Nathan. This is Brian.
Hey, Brian. Good evening, brother. Welcome.
Hey. On my way down to the courthouse right now, which is a twofold mission. One is to celebrate the fact of what the last sister said, which is that this verdict is a result of millions of people moving into action. And it gives you just the tip of the iceberg of the real power we have. a power that has been buried for decades, where people try to say that what we do in the streets doesn't matter. They say, including people who come on this call, say, when you go into the streets, okay, that's one thing, that's fine. But the real work happens afterwards. No, the real work happens in the streets. And then smarter people codify what we gained on the streets into law. That is the history of America. That is the history of the world. Doesn't start with laws. George Chauvin was convicted without a single one of these new measures passed. Keep that in mind. And that the actions that took place over the summer moved the needle on the legal side more than those same people pushing for legal things did over 10 years. Why is that? Because above all, what the powers that be want to do, above all, is to be able to make their money and exploit us without resistance. And so when we do resist to the point where it threatens their ability to live life as normal, they make concessions. And that's what this was. It was a very important concession to the fact that no matter how white supremacist and racist America is, they realize that this union will fracture if they allowed such a thing to stand. So that's one thing. Second thing is I'm on my way shortly after this to Minneapolis. And while there's a whole story to be told about some of the dirty things that were done by national organizations to families in Minnesota in this last week. I'll save those receipts for the person it was done to reveal them. However, the work, what this shows is that, like you said, Nate, the cops are so arrogant and so sloppy in the murders that they carry out against our people that there is a trail to follow. And it's why, at the heart of this movement against police brutality, the demands must be reopen the cases and prosecute the police. All the rest of the stuff that people are saying, I'm not saying it's not important, but people got to understand whether you're pushing to defund or you're pushing for this or that bill. If the central demand of the families, which is to reopen the cases and prosecute the police, is not at the center, then it will be diluted by these politicians and diluted by some of these activists who, as we recently found out in the case of Breonna Taylor, basically had nothing to do with those families' central demands and tried to lie to the movement here and expressed that the families' desires were not for jailing and reopening and fighting for their case, prosecution and jailing, and instead for quote unquote healing and changing police as we know it. All that is well and good, but if it doesn't start with putting these MFs away who created the crime in the first place, then it's all bullshit. And I keep saying this. These people out here who are calling for certain measures and policies, but who also don't call for prosecutions and jailing, they're part of this okie doke. They're part of taking our energy and our juice away from the one thing that unifies all impacted families across the country. And it's part of the legacy that BLM is national, Movement for Black Lives, whatever you want to call them, has perpetuated. So I just want to say that I'm headed on my way to Minneapolis. I'm going to be able to talk with some of the fighters I've been working with over the phone, who are part of the frontline actions there and leading them, impacted families who are leading it, so that we can get a more accurate picture of what actually went down. And most importantly, because there in Minneapolis, in the eye of the storm, the most forward-thinking impacted family members have always, through the beginning of this, when this fight started, insisted that no matter what happens with George Floyd, this battle is not just about George Floyd. It's about all of these dirty cops, all of these so-called experts who cover up and lie on the stand. That the trail that they've left through their arrogance is one that if we demand and push for re-investigations, we can reopen these cases, take the momentum from the victory we just got from Floyd, and get justice for people like Melvin Murray's mother, Robin Scott, who's in Cincinnati, who will be speaking at the action that we're doing this Saturday at New Prospect Baptist Church, or the mother of Paul Gaston, who was completely railroaded by the courts, or like Gerari Porter, who was experiencing homelessness and had nobody to back him up, or like Sam Dubose, whose family is still in the process of fighting for justice, or like Quandavier Hicks, who to this day, because he was not some polished high school or college spiffy person, they shat on his case. So anyway, man, I'm just in this moment. I'm relieved for America on a certain level, but at the same time, it's like y'all got this is not because it's not because there were good lawyers or good testimonies. It has nothing to do with that. Yes, those were fine, but what they try to convince us is when there's guilty verdicts is that the opposite was the problem. That the problem was a bad prosecutor or witnesses weren't asked the right questions. No, it's because the system is not set up to convict these killers. And the only thing that will make them do that is their fear of what happens if they don't. I don't care if you have the best lawyer in town or the shittiest lawyer. At the end of the day, the lines are drawn by us in the streets. And until we understand that together as a people, we can't recognize our real power. And that's why when some of my closest friends, when the verdict was close to coming, and I'll end here, Nate, I'm sorry to talk so long. When the verdict came up, or it was possible that, people thought that there might be a guilty verdict, a couple of my closest friends said, well, yeah, I'm sure that's just the state passing that out or whatever. That's them just giving us that. And it's like, no, it's important for us to understand that we took that. So that's the thing for today, man. None of this stuff is given to us. We have to take this every step, and it's never secured in stone. I don't care how many laws you make. If you take away their guns, they'll choke us to death if we don't fight back and demand they be put in jail, man. So my apologies for the length. I'm done.
All good, brother. All good. Appreciate the flows. That's Brian. And I respect his opinion, so I'm glad he called in. Appreciate it. That's why I'm here. I want to get the community's reaction. You know me, I can do this all day, but I want to know what you think. I want to hear from the community. I want to know what you think at 513-873-7134. I want to know what you're feeling right now. What do you feel right now? What do you think right now? What is your reaction to the fact that Derek Chauvin was found guilty on all three charges? What does that mean? I think it was Brother Doherty said, is this going to send a message back to the rest of the police? And I thought, that's an interesting question. What do you think? Do you think that law enforcement will be, law enforcement is watching this. Do you think that this verdict is going to have a positive impact on members of law enforcement across the country? At 513-873-7134. And again, watch for it. I guarantee it because I know humans worse than COVID. Some of these media pundits are far worse than COVID-19 could ever be. They're far worse than any of the variants of COVID. And I know these folks like the back of my hand. They are somewhere right now doing their show prep, and their primary focus is going to be to tell their audience that I see the system works. Bad cops do bad things, they go to jail. That's what their narrative is going to be. I guarantee it. That's my phone number. If you want to call in, I'm getting your reaction. Good evening. Welcome to the show. Good evening. Yo.
Hello.
Hello.
What's up? This Nate?
This is Nate.
Hey, this is Jerome. What's up?
Hey, what up, Jerome?
Oh, man, I just seen the verdict and it's all good, but we got to come together, man. This is nothing new. This is what's been happening forever. You know, we got to come together as people. And I love your show, and you on point. We got to come together, man, as a black family, as a community. This ain't nothing new. They've been doing this since they brought us here, and they did it to the Indians. But it's time for us to come together as a black family. And like the brother before me just said, if we don't show it, like Malcolm said, by any means necessary, we just got to come together and let them know we are not going to tolerate this. That's all I got to say. Peace out.
All right, Jerome. Thanks. I appreciate that, brother.
All right.
Yeah, it's rare for Jerome to call in. I appreciate him. Yeah, he says we need to come together. I could not agree. We already know what he just said is 100% on point. That's easier said than done. Like, we are more together in some aspects of the community than others. Like, the black community is not a monolith. We don't all think the same or feel the same about any issue. There are some commonalities and similarities that we all generally can agree upon, but everybody can think for themselves. But generally speaking, I 100% agree on all levels. 100% agree. That's why I'm the black media. That's why I decided that I want to dedicate myself to the black media, black independent media challenge, because I think that's a part of it. I think that's a very important part of it. Cleopatra writes, okay, Brian, you know Brian's on point. We already know that. Not that I don't have to agree with anybody 100% of the time to respect them. So I don't want to say we always agree, but it is. Brian is about that life. Well, that's one thing I know. Brian is about that life. I seen a brother with my own eyes, willing to put it on the line. That's a very serious black man right there. It's a very serious black man. Maurice writes, I found out Chauvin was guilty on all charges. They didn't want to riot. Well, the status quo, of course, doesn't want a riot, right? Capitalism doesn't want riots. I think it would have been an uprising, not a riot, but capitalism doesn't want anything that's going to disrupt capitalism, right? The flow of commerce. I get it. I would like to believe that the evidence was overwhelming. Did you hear the witnesses? You had police officers. The police chief came out and said that this wasn't police procedure. Will we ever know what was running through the mind of Derek Chauvin? Will we ever know? Like, maybe once convicted, he'll sit down with 2020 or something like that, and he'll do an exclusive interview and give his thoughts of it. But he didn't take the stand. Now, let's talk about that. Was that a mistake for Derek Chauvin to not take the witness stance in his own defense, to tell his own story? Well, hindsight, and it looks like it was. It looks like he missed the opportunity to explain himself to the jury, who, if the conclusion gives us any indication of how they felt throughout the trial, felt that he was wrong. We'll never know. We'll never know. Now, a lot of smart people have called in and said a lot of really interesting things that I think all are worthy of, all smart, intelligent black folks, every last call. And somebody called in, I can't recall who it was, and they said, well, the next thing is the judge. I think it was Black Russia. The judge has to sentence, and he's right about that. He's been convicted. Will the judge give him the maximum? I'm looking for the maximum. If he can get 20 years, I want him to spend every day of that 20 years behind bars. That's what I want. I mean, that's not what some people would call justice. But for where we are right now in a civilized society, it is what it is. Maurice writes, you are so correct, brother. Yeah, Brian was on point. Dion writes, no, the prosecution was good. Anthony writes, that jury is probably the most diverse one I've seen in a long time. Me too, Anthony. Me too. I thought the same thing. Again, looking at the evidence that was presented in the case presented by the prosecution, to me, it was a no-brainer. It was a no-brainer. But I couldn't allow myself to go there, right? And even say that on the air because, you prepare for the worst and hope for the best. At least that's my mentality about most things. Hope for the best, prepare for the worst. The best is what we got, guilty on all three charges. The worst is that he walks free on all three charges. And to be honest with you, and this is sad commentary, I didn't know what they were going to say until it came out of the judge's mouth. And again, that in and of itself is commentary. But why do you think that Derek Chauvin felt so comfortable to do what he did in broad daylight in front of everybody? He knew people were videotaping. Why do you think he felt so comfortable to continue to do that? I'd like to get your thoughts if anybody has any thoughts on it. You might be asking yourself, well, how late you going to go? Probably till about 6 p.m. And then I'll let it marinate. I got a few things I need to do as well. And then, of course, I'll be back with you tomorrow morning, bright and early at 7:30 a.m., and we'll chop it all the way up. But, for me, I felt as if, well, again, let me reserve that and just go straight back into your chat here. Nate is the devil. Is that right, Jerome? Tracy writes, he should have not taken the stand, period. Well, I mean, really? He got found guilty on all three charges. It couldn't get any worse than that. At this point, it looks as if he should have taken the stand in his defense and tried to explain himself and how he looked at it. It couldn't have gotten any worse. Danita writes, Chauvin couldn't take the stand. If he did, those 17 complaints in 19 years were a fair game. The fact that he did this to a 14-year-old boy in front of his mother would have ensured a guilty verdict. Sounds to me like, from everything that I'm seeing, that Derek Chauvin was one of these police officers that never should have been a police officer. That's what it sounds like. As I told you, no matter what the verdict, no matter what the outcome, America has a long way to go. America has a reckoning. America has a long way to go when it comes to police reforms. Okay? And hopefully this country will look to cities like Cincinnati and what we're doing here with the collaborative and other cities around the nation that are making significant reforms in that relationship between the police and the community. That's what time it is. It sounds as if qualified immunity is in everybody's crosshairs right now. Everybody's talking about qualified immunity, everybody. And that needs to be dealt with as well, whether on a federal level or in each particular state, because that's a problem. And when you build a system with the best intentions, humans are going to come in and do what they want to do. And in far too many cases, that's what we're seeing with members in law enforcement. In far too many cases, you see members of law enforcement abusing their authority, abusing their privileges, abusing their responsibility over and over and over again. And this time, it was just so atrocious. It was just so clear that he couldn't get away. That's what it appears to me. The devil can't do good, right? Cass writes, no, it wasn't a mistake. He didn't take the stand. What could he have said besides I effed up? He showed no emotion, no remorse. He knew what his intent was. He didn't care if George lived or died. I agree, Cass. There's no way in the world. Like, you got people that get into fistfights and don't do that with people that they have a reason to actually hate. You got folks that run up on their ops, catch them slipping, boom, boom, they out. And they don't do that to people that they have a personal history with. And that's the reason why black people say they hate us, because you only do those kind of things to people that you hate, right? Like, I've had confrontations with many men. I've gotten into it with many men. I've never felt the need to do that to another man who maybe I had a real personal issue with. George Floyd wasn't even human to Derek Chauvin. Raise your hand if at some point in the last, since this thing first happened last year, to this point that you have shed a tear. Raise your hand. Raise your hand if you've gotten emotional because you start thinking about your husband or your brother or your uncle or your family member or your son or your niece, your nephew, your cousin and them? Raise your hand. So this is something that a lot of people have had a lot of emotion over. And it's not over. We still got to get to the sentencing phase. And even if this man gets 20 years, it's not over. It's just beginning. This ain't over with. This ain't over with. Cleopatra Jones writes, Biden said he didn't want the people to riot either. He said, do it peacefully. I say disco inferno. Yeah, we talked about that this morning. I'm not against social unrest or an uprising. I refuse to call it a riot because it's not a riot. A riot is what happened during the Red Summer of 1999. No, those are riots. More like murderous, racist mobs, but no, they try to denigrate it by calling it a riot. What happened here in Cincinnati was not a riot. Any black person that says so needs to be corrected on the spot. Yeah, we all do slips of tongues, but any black person that says that needs to be corrected on the spot. There was no riot in Cincinnati. That was a social political movement. That was a grassroots. The people are sick and tired of it uprising. It was not a riot. Anybody that calls it a riot is not a friend of our community, or they're just ignorant as fuck. Either way, just please correct them and let them know that was not a riot. That was an uprising. What we saw last year throughout the major cities in the United States was not a riot. There were uprisings, a series of uprisings. And I can tell there's a lot of people that still don't understand. Because remember when you had the uprisings last year, you had city leadership that was running around talking about, well, it didn't happen in Cincinnati. It just goes to show how ignorant and how not plugged in to the community these individuals were. And I'm talking about the mayor, John Cranley, and others. He's running around here like it didn't happen in Cincinnati. Why are you doing this? Clearly, this man is not in tune with the masses of Cincinnati. Clearly, he just don't know. He just don't know. If you live in a city in which last year people hit the streets after what happened with George Floyd, that means you got effing problems, yo, in your city. That's what it means. Undeniable. You have problems in your city. That's why people were in the streets of your particular city last year. It doesn't matter whether Breonna Taylor happened in Louisville or not. It touched people to their experience to where they live. And that's why they hit the streets in particular cities. That's why people's in the streets of Cincinnati. And yeah, y'all can try to bastardize it and say, well, you have people coming in from out of the town. Mm-hmm. But then people from in town joined them. You got some people in leadership in this city that is so clueless, they're so isolated in their ivory tower, both literally and mentally, that they can't even see an alarm when it goes off in front of them. They don't even know what they're looking at. They have no idea. You better wake up. I don't think it can't happen again. So what's next for Auntie Maxine? I don't know. Tracy's got great comedic timing. She is hilarious. Jerome writes, anybody will be going to jail. Lynn writes, I'm going to give the judge the benefit of the doubt. He threw out shenanigans early. Good. Anthony writes, white boy macho summer. Danita writes, the GOP better leave Auntie alone. Yeah, leave her alone. She was absolutely right when what she said. Kara Mitchell writes, gotta go help sis move. Yes, I do. I have to help my sister move. I gotta be here for my fam. Let me see here. Regina writes, happy but cautious. Still a lot of work to be done. I think we all agree with that. Fame Rothstein's in the house. He writes, listen, this mad off topic, but today Google Doodle is a tribute to Luther Vandross. Would be his 70th birthday. It's a good one. Go to Google and check it out. You know what's so funny about this? And this goes to show you what kind of spectacular child that my daughter, my wife, and I have given to the world. We gave y'all a gift. We gave you 2 gifts. And who knows what they're going to give to the world. But my daughter was talking about that fame, believe it or not. This morning before school, she was like playing Luther Vandross. I mean, my wife is into music and all that kind of stuff. And my daughter's into our generation music. She loves it. So shout out to Luther, man. It's a damn shame he had to die in a closet. It's a damn shame that Luther Vandross had to die in the closet and he just couldn't be his fabulously whoever the hell he was self. Because I don't give a damn who he was sleeping with. The man was blessed. Oh, okay, my bad there. The man was blessed. There'll never be another Luther. Dion writes, they won't deal with qualified immunity, especially with the conservative Supreme Court. Yeah. Did you hear about the Democrats? They want to expand it to 13 justices. I want to spend some more time thinking about it and reading about it before I give a strong opinion about it. And I'm sure we'll talk about that in the near future. Cleopatra writes, Chauvin felt comfortable with his knee on George Floyd's neck in front of the whole world to see him because he felt cocky and that the system, United Snakes of America, would not convict him. Nat, sorry about that. Chauvin knows America KKK usually do not convict KKK cops. Is that right? KKK cops. That's funny. Lee writes, now that he's going to prison, he shouldn't be granted automatic protective custody status. He probably will. He'll probably be granted the status that you spoke of, and/or will be in isolation for his term, his length of his sentence, however long that ends up being. At this point, justice is Chauvin surrounded by brothers, lifers, who ain't got nothing to lose. Because you already know them brothers in there going to want to do the same thing to him he did to George Floyd. You already know. You already know. You already know. Them brothers is like, yeah, bring his ass on in here because we got something for you. It's called natural law. It's called God's law. I'm just saying, you know what happens behind closed doors. At least we think we know what happens behind closed doors, right? Through popular culture and maybe when our family members come home and tell us. Let me see. He got away with it before, and his attitude was, y'all, what y'all gonna do, right, Danita? Cass writes, I cried when they read the verdict. Yeah. You already know I shed some tears on the air. I ain't gonna say I am not ashamed at all. I don't got no shame in my game about a damn thing. I'm far too old for that dumb shit. Yeah, I did. And I'll do it again because I just felt for a brother. And I felt powerless. You know what I'm saying? I want to do something about it. And that powerlessness and just that empathy from people that look like me. And I started thinking about all the George Floyds that we'll never talk about, we'll never hear of, that'll never get justice, that we won't even speak their names. You know, families that just had to go on with their lives. How do you go into your life with something like that and your family member's been killed by a member of law enforcement? I still believe, and I stand by this, that we need good, conscious, black and white people, whoever. We need good people in general to be members of law enforcement. I 100% stand by that. I don't care what Derek Chauvin did. We can't lose sight of the prize. And we need people with strong conscience to do that job because it's a very serious job. It's a very serious job to be a member of law enforcement. We need good black men and women, melanated people, Asian people, white people, Jewish people. We need good humans to become members of law enforcement. And when the time comes for you to stand up, you can't punk out. Like that sister up in Buffalo that lost her pension, got kicked off the force because she stopped a white officer from choking out a suspect that was already subdued. What's her name? Carol? Shout out to that sister. We need more members of law enforcement. I don't care what their background is. I don't care what their racial background is, to do the right thing. If you're going to take on that mantle of responsibility, then damn it, you got to be willing to stand up to forces within the police force as well, and be a stand-up officer for the community. If you ain't willing to do that, don't go to the academy. Don't put the badge on because you got a small penis. Don't do that. Don't put the badge on because you got a small penis and you looking for something to make you feel big. Don't put the badge on. Don't put the uniform on because you got beat up in college. You got beat up in high school and now you want to train. And don't do all that shit. Go do something else. Go do something else. You know, if you're not willing to sacrifice, that's why I respect it. If you ain't willing to sacrifice and put it on the line for the community, the entire community, please don't do it. Because all you don't do is kill somebody. All you're going to do is embarrass us. Now, that would be embarrassing. So I could go on for days and days, family. I will be back. See, a lot of people said they shed tears. I certainly did a couple times. I wept because, as Michael Bazin said, men cry in the dark. So I wept. Oh man, won't no riot. It was a movement, right, Dion? It was a movement. It was no damn riot. Don't let, because again, some people just don't know. You got to just school them. You got to educate them. Like, look, brother, words matter. That ain't really right. We didn't have any riots in Cincinnati. Any members of the journalists don't fucking write that. There was no riot in Cincinnati. You saw the beginning of a movement. What you saw was oppressed people who said enough is enough. It was not. You are bastardizing it and you're criminalizing it. That's what you're doing. You're criminalizing it. I'm not for that. Wilson writes, I still don't trust the system. Those smart Alec MFs might sentence him to 9 minutes and 29 seconds. No, I don't think they'll do that. I'm with you too, Wilson. I don't still trust the system. I still got doubts in the system. I guarantee you, if you turn on Fox News or you turn on your favorite conservative talk show host, they're going to be ringing the alarm that the system works. Oh, the system works. The system works. See, I told you the system works. When bad cops do bad things, they go to jail. That's the narrative that they're going to want to write. Don't let them. Challenge them. Let them know what time it is. He thought he was Denzel in Training Day with those rookies. Yeah, that was a great movie, by the way. Yes, an amazing singer in Miss. Speaking of Loser, one in a kind. Loser was timeless, man. If there are aliens, and there was like some, every week you get more, at least every month we get more evidence that there's UFOs are real. If there are aliens, the aliens loved him some Luther. That's why they came here, for Luther. Let me see. Somebody writes, don't drop the soap. Well, listen, that's my time, family. I got to make a move. I really appreciate you for checking out this evening show. You know me, I'm super flexible. I'm here for the community. If something is happening, I'll break whatever I'm doing and go live so we can have a platform to discuss it and or to share information. And I'll be back with you tomorrow morning, bright and early at 7:30 a.m. All right. Keep your eyes on CDM. We're just getting started. Check out our podcast. I'm sure that people will be talking about it all day and all week long. Have an excellent evening. Have an excellent rest of your Tuesday. I'll catch up with you real soon. If you're just tuning in, Derek Chauvin, guilty on all 3 charges. Have an excellent rest of your evening, family. I'm Nathan Ivey from CDM.